What is it that you think we need y'all for? I would love to know. What do we need y'all for?
Hi, this is a list of important jobs broken down by gender distribution within the field. So we see that a lot of construction fields like road work, line work, basically things that keep electricity moving and the roads drivable, are about 99% male. So unless you don't drive or don't use the internet, oh wait.
Have you ever stopped to wonder what happens when an entire generation of men collectively decides that enough is enough, quietly steps back from the relentless demands and expectations placed upon them, and chooses a path of self preservation and peace instead? This is not some distant hypothetical scenario or exaggerated tale. It is unfolding right now across the globe, reshaping societies in ways that few saw coming. And by the end of this discussion, you will understand exactly why this shift is irreversible and what it truly means for the future of relationships between men and women. Stay with me through this because the full picture reveals consequences that are only beginning to surface, and recognizing them could change how you view everything around you. If you appreciate hard hitting, no nonsense content like this from the Angry Guy channel, do me a solid. Hit that like button, share this video with others who need to hear it, subscribe if you have not already, and click the notification bell, then select all so you get every single video the moment we release it. Also, if you are serious about taking control of your financial future in these uncertain times, head over to Angry's Crypto Academy, where you can learn step by step how to properly buy, sell, and trade crypto while protecting and growing your assets the right way. The Academy is linked right in the description below, so pause for a second and go check it out now. It could be one of the best moves you make. And if you're enjoying these Angry Guy videos and want to show some direct support, feel free to buy me a Red Bull using the link in the description. It keeps the energy high and the content coming. Let us dive deep into this reality that is transforming the world as we know it. What started as individual men seeking personal peace has evolved into a widespread movement where men are systematically stepping away from traditional interactions with women, creating exclusive spaces, economies, and lifestyles that prioritize their own well being above all else. This is not about anger or retaliation in the explosive sense. It is about calculated, deliberate choices made after years of observing patterns that no longer serve men positively. When you look at the data and the trends emerging worldwide, it becomes clear that men are not just withdrawing temporarily. They are building parallel systems designed to thrive without the complications that have dominated past decades. Consider the projections for the United States alone. By 2030, experts estimate that 45% of women aged 25 to 44 will remain single and without children. When you include single mothers in that calculation, the figure climbs dramatically to between 60 and 70% of all women in that age group facing life without a long term male partner. This is not a minor fluctuation, it represents a fundamental shift in societal structure. Many point to women's choices as the primary driver, but a closer examination reveals that the root cause lies in men's decisions to opt out entirely from the dating and marriage market as it currently exists. Look eastward to South Korea for one of the most striking examples of this dynamic in action. The country holds the distinction of having the world's lowest birth rate, a crisis that has persisted and worsened over recent years. Much attention has been given to the 4B movement, where some women declare their intent to abstain from dating men, marrying, having children with men, or engaging in intimate relations with them. Commentators often frame this as the main contributor to the demographic decline, but that narrative misses the larger truth. The real accelerator of South Korea's plummeting birth rate stems from organized responses by men to perceived overreaches in gender policies. In South Korea, women raised concerns about persistent unwanted advances. leading to proposals and implementations of guidelines limiting how many times a man could approach the same woman before it crossed into harassment territory. Some policies suggested a cap at 3 attempts, beyond which legal consequences could follow. Feminist advocates pushed back, arguing that 3 was insufficient and that women should retain the ability to engage in extended interactions without clear commitment. Men, however, recognized this as an opportunity to highlight inconsistencies. Rather than continuing to navigate a landscape filled with potential risks, many men simply ceased initiating altogether. Why expose oneself to arrest or social ruin when the rules seem stacked unevenly? This pattern repeated across various sectors. In workplaces, accusations arose that men were blocking women's advancement through sexist practices. Men's response was pragmatic. They openly prioritized hiring and promoting other men, focusing on merit within their own networks and competing intensely among themselves. This removed the expectation of mentorship toward women, leveling the field in a way that aligned with calls for equality but removed preferential treatment. In entertainment, complaints about comedic content or dramatic portrayals deemed problematic led men to withdraw viewership en masse. When networks adjusted by sanitizing shows to eliminate edgy humor, the result was bland programming that failed to retain audiences as men had already moved out on to other forms of media. These strategic withdrawals are not isolated to South Korea. They mirror a global phenomenon where men call bluffs and reclaim control over their time, resources, and environments. The birth rate crises in nations like Japan, China, the United States, and others are not primarily driven by women's refusals to marry or bear children. Instead, they trace back to men's collective decision to walk away from dating, committed relationships, platonic friendships, and even casual interactions with women in their home societies. One of the most visible manifestations of the shift is the explosive growth of the manosphere online. What began as niche forums has expanded into a vast ecosystem of content creators, podcasts, channels, and communities tailored exclusively for men's interests, challenges, and growth. Topics that men care about deeply: finance, fitness, philosophy, gaming, technology have increasingly become male dominated spaces where discussions unfold without external interference. Even creators who started in unrelated fields have pivoted. Take mathematicians applying rigorous models to gender dynamics, or personal finance experts like those once focused solely on investing now, dedicating substantial airtime to men's issues and relational observations. Gaming commentators who built audiences reviewing titles now frequently analyze how industry trends impact male consumers specifically. Channels dedicated to exposing shifts in entertainment, such as those covering comics, video games, and film, highlight how policies aimed at inclusivity have alienated core male audiences, prompting men to curate their own consumption habits. This online realm provides validation, strategy, and camaraderie that many men find more reliable than mixed gender interactions. Statistically, the disparity in relationship status between young men and young women underscores this reality. A majority of young men report being single, while a similar majority of young women report being in relationships. The explanation lies not in universal desirability, but in concentration. A shrinking pool of highly sought after men is shared among multiple women simultaneously, often unbeknownst to each participant. As awareness spreads, even that small group diminishes as men opt for solitude or alternative arrangements over competition in a perceived unbalanced arena. Technological advancements are accelerating the separation. Over the next couple of years, artificial intelligence is poised to disrupt industries traditionally dominated by female creators, such as certain segments of online content monetization platforms. AI-generated companions are gaining traction among young men, offering interaction without the risks or demands associated with human relationships. Meanwhile, everyday behaviors have shifted profoundly. Men report approaching women far less frequently, if at all, in public settings. Friendships across gender lines have declined as men prioritize peace and avoid potential misunderstandings. After decades of messages portraying traditional male roles as problematic through various social movements, public campaigns, and media narratives, men internalized the directive to step back. When told repeatedly to reflect on their behavior, to make space, to avoid imposition, many concluded that the simplest compliance was complete withdrawal. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. The result? Single men report higher savings rates, improved mental clarity, and greater life satisfaction amid economic challenges that affect everyone. Economically, this has ripple effects. Men contribute the bulk of tax revenue through higher workforce participation and earnings in certain sectors, while consumer spending skews heavily toward purchases influenced by women. As men work fewer hours, accumulate wealth personally, and reduce expenditures on dates, gifts, or shared households, government revenue strain, limiting funds for various programs. Parallel economies emerge in areas like cryptocurrency trading, skill bartering, preparedness communities, and decentralized work. Spaces where men collaborate exclusively and often exclude or charge premiums for female participation. Service industries reflect this too. Tradespeople, such as electricians or plumbers, increasingly apply higher rates for single female clients, reflecting perceived risk or simply market choice. Men build private home gyms or join members only male fitness groups after experiences in mixed facilities soured. Restaurants, particularly upscale venues reliant on date nights, see declining revenue as men cook at home or eat minimally. Nightlife venues fill with unbalanced crowds, lacking the spending that once flowed freely. When men do seek companionship or adventure, many turn to international travel, visiting regions where cultural norms still emphasize traditional femininity. Lower costs of living allow greater freedom, and interactions feel more reciprocal. These choices reinforce the domestic shift as resources flow outward. As artificial intelligence reshapes employment, men, often single and unencumbered, adapt quickly, embracing minimalism, investing surpluses, and trading skills directly. Women, navigating these changes without traditional support networks, face heightened challenges in a consumer driven framework. This movement traces back to cumulative experiences over 50 years. Legal systems perceived as biased in family matters, public shaming campaigns, restrictions on natural behaviors labeled offensive, and demands for resources without equivalent commitment. Men observed, learned, and adapted. Solitude proved preferable to chaos. Peace replaced validation seeking. Today, men rediscover hobbies, build brotherhoods, and shield themselves from realities they once buffered for others. Women voice frustrations online about dating difficulties, yet the response remains consistent. Men have found contentment elsewhere and see no compelling reason to return. Society feels the strain, demographic imbalances, economic contractions in certain sectors, collapsing traditional institutions, but men focused on self preservation continue forward. The game changed, patterns became clear, and choices solidified. The consequences of this widespread withdrawal are not abstract or distant. They are tangible, measurable, and accelerating with each passing year. Industries that once thrived on the traditional dynamic of men pursuing, providing, and investing heavily in relationships with women are now facing existential threats. Take the restaurant sector as a prime example. For decades, a significant portion of revenue, especially in mid to high end establishments, came from couples on dates, where men overwhelmingly covered the bill. Romantic dinners, anniversary celebrations, first dates at trendy spots, these were the lifeblood of many venues. But as men collectively decide that taking a woman out for an expensive meal offers little to no meaningful return, that revenue stream has dried up dramatically. Owners report quieter weeknights, fewer reservations, and entire chains struggling to stay afloat. Men now prepare simple, cost effective meals at home, meal prep for the week, or gather with other men for low key barbecues or potlucks where everyone contributes equally. No more dropping hundreds on a single evening just to keep a conversation going that might lead nowhere. Nightclubs and bars tell a similar story. These places were built on a predictable formula. Groups of women enter for free or at reduced cost to draw in men, who then spend heavily on drinks, bottles, and cover charges to gain proximity and attention. Today, walk into many urban nightlife spots, and you will see tables filled with women sitting together, phones out, drinks untouched or nursed slowly because no one is buying rounds for them anymore. The energy is flat, the spending is down, and venues are closing left and right. Men have redirected their leisure time toward activities that bring genuine enjoyment without the performance. Watching fights at a friend's house, hosting poker nights, or simply relaxing with a book or a hobby. The economic impact cascades, fewer jobs for bartenders, servers, DJs, and security, all because the incentive structure that propped up the industry has collapsed under the weight of men's newfound priorities. Gyms and fitness centers are another casualty. Mixed gender commercial gyms once relied heavily on male memberships, as men historically formed the majority of consistent long term attendees, lifting heavy, paying for premium plans, and showing up reliably. Complaints arose over the years about perceived harassment, men glancing, offering unsolicited advice, or simply existing in shared space while women trained in revealing attire. Policies shifted, signs went up warning against interaction, cameras multiplied, and the atmosphere grew tense. Men's response was straightforward and decisive. They left. Home gyms exploded in popularity, with men investing once in quality equipment that pays for itself quickly compared to monthly fees. Others joined or created private, invite only male facilities where the focus remains purely on training, camaraderie, and results without external drama. Commercial chains now face empty weight rooms during peak hours, cancel contracts en masse, and a desperate pivot toward female centric classes that fail to fill the financial gap left by departing men. This pattern extends into retail and consumer goods. Women drive the overwhelming majority of discretionary purchases. Clothing, cosmetics, home decor, luxury items, often funded directly or indirectly by male earnings in traditional setups. As men go single and minimalist, they slash unnecessary spending. A man living alone buys functional clothing that lasts, cooks basic nutritious meals, invests surplus income, and avoids impulse buys. The money that once flowed into joint accounts, gifts, shared vacations, or supporting a partner's lifestyle now stays firmly in men's pockets or gets allocated toward assets like crypto, tools, vehicles, or experiences that serve them directly. Retailers feel the pinch, luxury brands report softening demand, and entire marketing strategies built around female consumers are straining to adapt in a world where fewer women have access to male provided resources. Parallel to this economic realignment, men are forging entirely new ecosystems that operate outside traditional structures and deliberately exclude the dynamics that caused friction in the past. Cryptocurrency and decentralized finance represent one of the clearest examples. Men dominate participation in trading, mining, staking, and community building within crypto spaces. Networks form around shared knowledge, risk tolerance, and long term vision, traits that align naturally with male tendencies towards systems thinking and delayed gratification. Women attempting to enter these arenas often find the learning curve steep and the reception cool, as men prioritize teaching and collaborating with those who demonstrate genuine commitment without expecting handouts or special treatment. Bartering communities follow the same logic. Men trade skills directly: carpentry for mechanical work, coding for gardening produce, creating resilient local networks that bypass fiat currency altogether. When women seek entry or services, they frequently encounter premium pricing or outright refusal, a market signal that reflects accumulated experience rather than blanket hostility. Preparedness and survivalist circles have swelled similarly. Men stock supplies, learn self reliance skills, train physically and mentally for potential disruptions, and form tight knit groups built on trust earned through action. These are not open door social clubs. Entry requires proven reliability, and the focus remains on mutual support among members. Women, historically shielded from such harsh realities by male protection, now confront them directly as state resources thin and personal networks shrink. Debt levels among women climb as consumer habits persist without corresponding income growth or male supplementation, creating a feedback loop of financial pressure that further isolates them from emerging male led economies. Travel and expatriation add another layer to this transformation. A growing number of Western men, financially unencumbered and geographically flexible thanks to remote work or passive income streams, relocate temporarily or permanently to regions where cultural norms still value traditional gender complementarity. Countries in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Eastern Europe see influxes of men who arrive with savings earned in high cost Western economies, live comfortably on far less, and encounter women who express appreciation for masculinity, provision, and stability. These men report higher life satisfaction, lower stress, and relationships that feel balanced rather than adversarial. The resources they spend overseas never cycle back into Western female driven consumer markets, widening the gap further. Artificial intelligence stands poised to turbocharge every trend we have discussed. As AI tools mature, they replace roles across creative, administrative, and even intimate domains. Platforms that once monetized female presence through personalized content face direct competition from limitless, customizable AI alternatives that demand no ongoing investment beyond subscription fees. Young men, already comfortable with technology and wary of real world risks, adopt these options rapidly, deepening their self sufficiency. Job displacement hits broadly, but single men, mobile, minimalist, and skilled in adaptation, pivot faster into new niches like AI, prompt engineering, data labeling oversight, or decentralized protocol governance. Women, often tied to industries slower to recover or more vulnerable to automation, struggle to keep pace without the traditional safety net of male partnership. At the heart of all this lies a profound philosophical shift. Men spent generations absorbing messages that their value derived primarily from utility to others, protecting, providing, sacrificing. When those contributions were met with criticism, legal jeopardy, social shaming, and extraction without reciprocity, a critical mass reached the same conclusion. Peace found in solitude outweighs chaos endured in connection. Being alone does not equate to loneliness when self mastery and brotherhood fill the space once occupied by obligatory performance. Men rediscovered that happiness stems from internal alignment rather than external validation, from building rather than appeasing, from clarity rather than compromise. Women, meanwhile, confront the full weight of the independence they champion. Social media overflows with expressions of frustration, difficulty finding partners willing to commit resources, rising costs of living alone, absence of traditional courtesies once taken for granted. Some demand men's return as providers. Others insist the problem lies entirely with male inadequacy. Few acknowledge the cumulative impact of decades spent reshaping incentives until participation became irrational for the average man. Pattern recognition, once dismissed as cynicism, now guides decision making with ruthless accuracy. Observable reality trumps promised exceptions. The state itself feels the squeeze. Tax bases erode as high earning men optimize lifestyles, reduce hours, or relocate jurisdictions. Programs historically supported by male labor and compliance face funding shortfalls. Politicians scramble for solutions, but the underlying demographic and behavioral shifts prove resistant to policy tweaks. Birth rates continue downward trajectories not because women universally reject motherhood, but because the prerequisite stable pairings no longer form at scale. Societies built on assumptions of perpetual male investment awaken to a new equilibrium where that investment flows inward or elsewhere. Men walking away did not arrive at this point through coordinated malice, but through individual rational choices compounded over time. Each man who chose peace over turmoil, investment over expenditure, clarity over confusion contributed to a tipping point now past. There is no animosity required to maintain the new status quo. Simple preference suffices. The comfort found in self reliance, the joy in unburdened living, the strength drawn from authentic brotherhood, these rewards prove too valuable to relinquish for a return to previous dynamics. As we move forward into 2026 and beyond, expect these trends to solidify further. AI integration will mature, decentralized systems will expand, international mobility will increase, and male spaces will grow more sophisticated and resilient. Women will adapt in various ways, some thriving independently, others seeking new strategies, many continuing to voice dissatisfaction. But the era of automatic male prioritization has closed. Men listened when told their traditional roles were problematic. They adjusted accordingly. And in that adjustment, they discovered a life many never knew was possible: simple, focused, prosperous, and profoundly peaceful. What we are witnessing is not the end of society, but the emergence of a bifurcated one, where men and women occupy increasingly separate spheres by men's deliberate choice. The full ramifications will unfold over decades, reshaping culture, economy, governance, and family structure in ways we can only begin to project today. But one truth stands clear: the men who walked away are not lost or broken. They are, for the first time in generations, truly free. Let us take this conversation even deeper into the realities that are reshaping lives on a daily basis. The shift we are talking about is not some fleeting trend or temporary reaction. It represents a fundamental reorientation where men have recalibrated their priorities after years of navigating systems that offered diminishing returns. What emerges now is a landscape where individual men, through quiet but consistent choices, have created distance from dynamics that once drained their time, energy, and resources. This distance has allowed space for personal growth, financial stability, and a level of contentment that many describe as unprecedented in their lives. One of the clearest indicators of this transformation appears in how men are managing their finances and overall well being. Reports from recent years show that single men, particularly those who have embraced solitude or male focused networks, are accumulating wealth at higher rates than before. They invest in assets, build emergency funds, and pursue side ventures that align with their interests rather than external obligations. In contrast to narratives that paint single men as isolated or struggling, many express a profound sense of liberation. They describe waking up without the weight of expectations, planning their days around goals that serve them directly, and enjoying hobbies or travel that once felt out of reach due to shared expenses. This rise in personal savings and reported happiness among single men stands out especially during periods of economic uncertainty, where adaptability and minimalism provide a clear advantage. On the flip side, the economic ripples extend to sectors that historically depended on male spending patterns tied to dating and relationships. Restaurants, for instance, continue to navigate challenges as consumer habits evolve. Many establishments report softer demand for the kinds of experiences that revolve around couples or group dates, with patrons opting instead for quick, affordable options or home prepared meals. This adjustment reflects broader choices where men prepare their own food, share cost equally in male gatherings, or simply prioritize nutrition over social performance. The result is a more intentional approach to spending, one that keeps resources circulating within personal or male aligned networks rather than outward into mixed social venues. Fitness spaces tell a parallel story. Commercial gyms face ongoing pressures as members seek alternatives that better fit their lifestyles. Home workout setups have become increasingly sophisticated and accessible, allowing men to train consistently without the distractions or tensions that sometimes arose in shared facilities. Private or invite only groups focused on strength and skill development have grown in popularity, offering environments built on mutual respect and shared goals. This pivot not only supports physical health, but also fosters brotherhoods where men exchange knowledge on training, nutrition, and life strategies freely. The trend toward home or exclusive training spaces underscores a broader desire for control over one's environment, free from unnecessary complications. Technology continues to play a pivotal role in accelerating these changes. Artificial intelligence tools are reshaping how people interact, create, and consume content across various platforms. In areas traditionally dominated by personal presence, AI offers customizable options that meet needs without the interpersonal risks or commitments of the past. Young men, in particular, explore these advancements as complements to their self sufficient lifestyles, finding value in efficiency and personalization. This integration of technology supports a future where men direct their attention toward pursuits that build long term security and satisfaction. When men do choose to engage romantically or socially beyond their home countries, many gravitate toward destinations where cultural values align more closely with mutual respect, appreciation, and balance. Regions in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and parts of Eastern Europe attract visitors who appreciate lower living costs alongside environments that feel welcoming and reciprocal. These journeys often combine adventure, cultural immersion, and the opportunity to build connections on terms that emphasize equality and enjoyment. Men returning from such experiences frequently highlight the contrast, a sense of being valued for who they are rather than what they must constantly prove or provide. This international perspective reinforces domestic choices as resources earned in higher wage economies stretch further abroad, enabling lifestyles of greater freedom and comfort. The cumulative effect of these individual decisions creates ecosystems that operate independently and sustainably. Cryptocurrency communities, skill sharing networks, and preparedness groups thrive on principles of direct exchange and trust earned through competence. Participation in these spaces rewards reliability and contribution, naturally forming bonds among men who share similar outlooks. Women seeking entry sometimes encounter barriers not out of exclusionary intent, but because the foundational trust and reciprocity were built among those who invested early and consistently. This organic development mirrors how any strong community forms around shared values, proven actions, and mutual benefit. Looking ahead into the later part of this decade and beyond, the trajectory points toward further refinement of these parallel systems. As artificial intelligence matures, it will open new avenues for decentralized work, creative expression, and personal development that favor those already adapted to flexibility and self reliance. Men who have embraced minimalism and strategic investing position themselves to capitalize on these shifts, turning potential disruptions into opportunities. Meanwhile, traditional institutions reliant on historical patterns, whether economic, social, or demographic, will continue adjusting to a reality where male participation is no longer automatic but earned through clear value. This evolution stems from lessons learned over decades, observing inconsistencies, recognizing patterns, and choosing responses that prioritize long term peace over short term approval. Men did not walk away in a coordinated burst, but through millions of personal realizations that alignment with one's own values yields greater rewards than perpetual accommodation. The peace discovered in that alignment proves resilient, sustaining even as external pressures mount. Brotherhoods provide support, individual pursuits offer fulfillment, and the absence of old obligations creates room for new possibilities. Women navigating this changed landscape express a range of responses, from adapting independently to questioning why traditional incentives no longer draw the same engagement. Some build their own networks and achievements, thriving in the space opened by shifted dynamics. Others reflect on past cultural messages and their unintended outcomes. But the core observation remains. When one group consistently signals that certain contributions are unneeded or burdensome, the rational response is to redirect those contributions inward or elsewhere. As we approach the midpoint of this transformative period, the evidence mounts that this rebalancing is not reversible through appeals or demands alone. It requires genuine reciprocity, respect for boundaries, and alignment on fundamental values, elements that must be demonstrated consistently to rebuild trust. Until then, men continue forward, building lives marked by clarity, purpose, and unapologetic focus on their own growth. The broader societal implications will unfold gradually. Adjustments in policy, culture, and economy to reflect new demographics and behaviors. Some sectors will contract, others will emerge, and innovation will fill gaps left by outdated assumptions. Through it all, the men who chose this path report not regret, but gratitude for the clarity that led them here and the freedom it sustains. This is the reality shaping our world today, not one of conflict, but of deliberate separation, where peace is chosen over persistence in unbalanced systems. Men have found that protecting their time, resources, and well being yields dividends far greater than any external validation once promised. Let us expand further on the profound ways men are reclaiming control over their environments and building lives centered on personal fulfillment rather than external obligations. One area where this manifests clearly is in the realm of physical health and fitness. Men have long prioritized strength, resilience, and self discipline in their training routines, but mixed gender commercial gyms introduce tensions that many found counterproductive to those goals. Policies designed to address concerns about interactions often created an atmosphere of scrutiny and restriction, leading men to seek alternatives that align better with their focus on results and camaraderie. The rise of home gyms has been remarkable, with men investing in durable equipment that allows consistent training without interruptions or unnecessary complications. Private, members only facilities exclusively for men have also proliferated, offering spaces where the emphasis remains on lifting heavy, supporting one another, and achieving personal bests in an environment free from distractions. This shift extends beyond convenience. It reflects a broader commitment to self reliance. Men equip their homes with racks, benches, barbells, and functional tools that serve them long term, turning a one time investment into ongoing gains. Group training among trusted friends or in dedicated male spaces fosters accountability and motivation that many report surpasses what they experienced in larger commercial settings. Women, meanwhile, continue to engage with fitness in ways that suit their preferences, often favoring group classes or wellness oriented programs. The result is a natural separation where each group pursues health on terms that maximize enjoyment and progress. And financial independence plays a crucial role in sustaining these lifestyles. Single men, unburdened by shared household expenses or relational demands, channel resources into building wealth through disciplined saving, strategic investing, and side pursuits. Studies continue to highlight how minimalist living, focusing on needs rather than wants, leads to higher accumulation rates and reduced stress. Men report greater financial security, with surpluses directed toward travel, skill development, or assets that appreciate over time. This economic freedom enables choices like extended stays abroad or early retirement planning, further reinforcing the appeal of solitude or selective brotherhoods. International exploration remains a cornerstone for many men seeking balance and adventure. Destinations in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Eastern Europe offer not only lower costs, but also cultural environments where mutual respect and appreciation feel more prevalent. Men describe experiences of being valued for their character and efforts, contrasting with perceptions of domestic dynamics. These journeys provide opportunities for language learning, cultural immersion, and forming connections based on shared values rather than transactional expectations. The affordability stretches Western earnings significantly, allowing lifestyles of comfort and exploration that feel enriching rather than strained. Technology continues to empower this independence. Artificial intelligence tools enhance productivity, creativity, and even companionship in ways that align with individual preferences. From advanced fitness tracking to personalized learning platforms, men leverage these innovations to optimize daily life without relying on external structures. In content creation and entertainment, AI driven options offer customization that meets specific interests efficiently. This technological edge supports decentralized work and hobbies, freeing time for pursuits that bring genuine satisfaction. Community building among men has strengthened through online and in person networks focused on shared goals, finance, fitness, philosophy, and preparedness. These spaces provide honest exchange, mentorship, and support without the complications that sometimes arise in mixed settings. Men collaborate on projects, trade knowledge, and celebrate achievements collectively, creating bonds rooted in mutual growth. This brotherhood fills social needs effectively, reducing any sense of isolation. while prioritizing peace. As economic pressures mount globally, men's adaptability shines through. Minimalist habits and survivalist mindsets position them to weather uncertainties better, investing in skills and resources that endure. Women face different challenges in a consumer oriented framework, often without the same pivot to self sufficiency. The gap widens as men secure their foundations, focusing inward on preservation and prosperity. Reflecting on decades of societal messaging, men recognize patterns and choose accordingly. Directives to step back, reflect, and accommodate were taken seriously, leading to withdrawal and discovery of inner strength. The peace achieved in this realignment proves enduring, supported by brotherhoods, personal achievements, and freedom from past obligations. Looking to the horizon, these patterns solidify. Artificial intelligence will unlock further efficiencies, decentralized networks will expand, and international options will grow more accessible. Men continue refining lives of clarity and purpose, unapologetic in their pursuit of happiness on their own terms. The world adjusts around these choices. Demographic shifts, economic reallocations, cultural evolutions, all stemming from individual decisions compounded over time. Men who embrace this path express profound contentment, having traded complexity for simplicity and obligation for autonomy. This transformation underscores a timeless truth. When contributions are questioned or devalued, redirecting them towards self and like minded allies yields rewards beyond measure. Men have found that protecting their peace is not selfish, but essential, leading to lives marked by strength, security, and serenity. We have covered extensive ground today, examining how men are forging ahead with intention and resilience. The trends point towards sustained separation, driven by preference and proven benefits. Let us keep building on this foundation and explore even more layers of how men are constructing lives of purpose, strength, and independence in a world that has shifted dramatically beneath everyone's feet. One of the most powerful aspects of this movement is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you no longer have to perform, prove, or persistently pursue validation from systems that never truly reciprocated. Men today are channeling that energy into mastering skills, deepening knowledge, and creating value on their own terms. Whether it is learning advanced trading strategies in decentralized markets, honing craftsmanship in workshops, or studying philosophy and history to better understand human nature, the focus has turned decisively inward toward self improvement and long term mastery. This dedication to personal development shows up clearly in the explosion of male focused educational content across platforms. Channels, podcasts, forums, and communities dedicated to finance, fitness, mindset, history, and practical skills have seen massive growth because men are hungry for information that directly empowers them without dilution or external agendas. They seek straightforward, evidence based guidance that respects their time and intelligence. Creators who deliver that, whether breaking down market cycles, explaining strength programming, or analyzing historical patterns of societal rise and fall, build loyal audiences of men who apply the lessons immediately and see real results. This creates a positive feedback loop. Better knowledge leads to better decisions, which leads to better outcomes, which reinforces the choice to invest in oneself first and foremost. Financial literacy, in particular, has become a cornerstone. Men recognize that true freedom starts with controlling resources, so they study compounding, risk management, asset allocation, and alternative economies with intensity. Cryptocurrency, precious metals, real estate in stable jurisdictions, and skill based income streams all form part of diversified strategies that protect wealth during uncertainty. The beauty of this approach is its resilience. When you live minimally, save aggressively, and invest intelligently, external shocks lose much of their power. A single man with no dependents, low overhead, and multiple income sources can navigate economic turbulence far more easily than a household reliant on dual incomes and high consumption. This reality drives even more men toward intentional living where every dollar serves a purpose aligned with personal goals rather than societal expectations. Health optimization follows the same deliberate path. Beyond basic fitness, men dive into nutrition protocols, sleep science, hormone balance, and recovery methods that maximize vitality well into later decades. Blood work panels, targeted supplementation, cold exposure, sauna routines, and consistent training compound into levels of energy and clarity that make daily life feel sharper and more vibrant. The motivation is simple. You only get one body, and protecting it becomes non negotiable when you are your own primary responsibility. No longer buffering others from consequences or sacrificing health for relational demands, men treat themselves as the ultimate asset worth preserving. Mental resilience receives equal attention. Practices like meditation, journaling, Stoic philosophy, and structured reflection help men process past experiences, release lingering resentments, and maintain emotional equilibrium. Brotherhoods play a key role here too. Spaces where men speak openly about challenges, share strategies, and hold each other accountable without judgment. These conversations build psychological strength that external chaos cannot easily disrupt. The result is a growing population of calm, focused, purposeful men who respond to adversity with calculation rather than reaction. Creativity and expression find new outlets as well. Many men rediscover hobbies abandoned during years spent chasing approval. Music, writing, woodworking, mechanics, coding projects, or content creation purely for enjoyment. Free from the need to signal status or attract attention, they create for the intrinsic reward of mastery and flow. Some turn these passions into income streams, others keep them private sanctuaries. But either way, the act of building something tangible restores a sense of agency and accomplishment that modern life had eroded for many. Travel continues to serve as both reward and teacher. Extended stays in countries with strong traditional values allow men to experience reciprocity, warmth, and partnership in ways that feel balanced and affirming. They learn new languages, adapt to different cultures, and often return with broader perspectives that reinforce their domestic choices. Some choose semi permanent relocation, building lives abroad where their earnings go further and social dynamics feel healthier. Others treat international journeys as seasonal resets, maintaining bases in multiple regions for maximum flexibility. This global mobility represents one of the greatest advantages of the unencumbered lifestyle. The world becomes your playground rather than a single location defined by obligation. Technology amplifies every aspect of this independence. Artificial intelligence tools streamline research, automate routine tasks, enhance creativity, and even provide companionship tailored to individual preferences. As these systems improve, they reduce reliance on traditional institutions for education, entertainment, or social interaction. Men already comfortable with self direction adopt innovations quickly, gaining advantages in efficiency and insight. This technological leverage widens the gap between those adapting proactively and those waiting for external solutions. Community remains vital, but on redefined terms. Men gather around shared interests and proven character rather than proximity or default social circles. Hiking groups, martial arts dojos, investment clubs, shooting ranges, cigar lounges, and online masterminds all serve as hubs where trust builds through consistent action. Entry often requires demonstration of reliability over time, creating high quality networks that deliver real support during challenges. These bonds prove deeper and more durable than many past relationships because they rest on mutual respect and aligned values rather than necessity or convenience. As we look toward the coming years, the momentum behind these lifestyle choices only grows stronger. Demographic data continues to reflect the underlying shifts, rising numbers of single men reporting high life satisfaction, declining marriage rates driven primarily by male opt out, and persistent low birth rates across developed nations. Economic indicators tell the same story. Contracting sectors tied to traditional dating and consumption patterns, expanding markets for tools of self reliance like home fitness equipment, secure wallets, and remote work technology. Policy responses attempt to address symptoms but struggle with root causes. Incentives for marriage or childbirth often miss the mark because they fail to restore the trust and reciprocity that eroded over decades. Men who have experienced peace, prosperity, and purpose in their current paths see little appeal in returning to systems that demanded sacrifice without security. The calculus has changed permanently. Observed reality now outweighs promised reforms. Women adapt in varied ways. Some achieve remarkable independence through career focus and personal networks. Others express frustration at changed incentives and seek ways to bridge the divide. A growing number reflect publicly on cultural messaging from prior decades and its unintended consequences. But the broader trend holds. When one group signals repeatedly that traditional male contributions are problematic or unnecessary, withdrawal becomes the rational response. Re engagement requires demonstrated value that matches or exceeds the peace already discovered elsewhere. This separation does not stem from hatred or coordinated rejection, but from millions of individual conclusions reached independently. Each man who prioritizes his well being adds weight to the collective shift. The result is a world where men thrive through focus, discipline, and brotherhood, while traditional structures adjust to reduced male investment. The future belongs to those who build resilient, intentional lives, regardless of external conditions. Men walking this path today model that resilience daily, calm amid uncertainty, prosperous through discipline, content through alignment. Their example spreads not through force, but through visible results. Stronger bodies, fuller bank accounts, clearer minds, richer experiences. We stand at a historical inflection point where old assumptions dissolve and new realities solidify. Men have chosen self preservation and growth over perpetual accommodation, and the rewards of that choice compound with every passing year. What did you think about everything we covered today? Do you see these shifts playing out in your own life or community? Do you agree that this movement is irreversible, or do you believe something could draw men back into traditional roles? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all and value honest discussion. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers. As we bring this extensive discussion to a close, it is essential to turn our attention fully to the consequences that women are now encountering as a direct result of the widespread shift where men have chosen to prioritize their own peace, growth, and independence over traditional relational investments. These consequences are not minor adjustments or temporary inconveniences. They represent profound structural changes in daily life, economic reality, social dynamics, and long term prospects that touch virtually every aspect of modern womanhood in Western societies and beyond. For decades, many women operated within a framework where male provision, protection, attention, and labor formed a reliable backdrop, often taken for granted as an enduring feature of society rather than a conditional contribution that could be withdrawn. Now, with men collectively stepping back after years of observing unbalanced incentives, Women across age groups, income levels, and backgrounds are confronting the full weight of independence in a world that no longer automatically supplements their efforts with male resources. One of the most immediate and visible consequences appears in the dating and relationship landscape. Women who once enjoyed abundant options, frequent approaches, and the ability to select from multiple suitors now report prolonged periods of singleness, sparse matches on apps, and a dramatic reduction in real world initiations from men, where messages, date invitations, and expressions of interest once flowed steadily. Many inboxes sit quiet for weeks or months at a time. Public spaces that previously offered opportunities for casual interaction, coffee shops, gyms, social events, now feature men who maintain deliberate distance, focused on their own activities rather than scanning for connection. This scarcity stems not from a sudden decline in male desirability, but from men's rational choice to avoid risks, rejection games, and perceived unequal effort. Women express confusion and frustration online, questioning where all the eligible men have gone, while the answer lies in those men's quiet decision that solitude or selective international engagement offers greater peace than navigating domestic dynamics. Financial pressure compounds this relational drought significantly. Women historically benefited from direct and indirect male financial support through dates, gifts, shared living expenses, or long term provision in marriage. With men minimizing discretionary spending on courtship, eschewing expensive dinners, drinks, trips, or lavish gestures, the flow of resources into female driven consumption has slowed considerably. Many women now cover full cost of social outings, travel, beauty maintenance, and lifestyle choices that were previously offset by male contributions. Housing presents another stark challenge. Rent and mortgage payments designed around dual incomes or male primary earnings become burdensome on single salaries, especially in high cost urban areas where many professional women concentrate. Savings rates lag, debt accumulates through credit cards and loans, and retirement planning suffers as current expenses consume larger portions of income. The absence of male supplementation means that every financial decision rests solely on personal earnings, amplifying the impact of wage gaps, career interruptions for childcare, or time off that disproportionately affect women. Economic isolation extends into service and repair needs around the home. Tradesmen such as plumbers, electricians, mechanics, and handymen increasingly apply premium pricing or decline altogether when dealing with single female clients, reflecting both market choice and accumulated caution from past experiences. Women report paying significantly higher rates for basic repairs or waiting extended periods for service, sometimes facing outright refusal unless they route requests through male relatives or friends. Simple tasks that men once handled willingly, changing tires, assembling furniture, fixing appliances, now require paid professionals or self learning, adding time, cost, and frustration to daily life. This market response underscores how goodwill and informal assistance have evaporated, leaving women to navigate practical challenges without the previous safety net of male helpfulness. Social circles shrink and shift in composition as well. Mixed gender friendships, once common, have declined sharply as men prioritize peace and avoid potential misunderstandings or accusations. Women find their networks increasingly female dominated, lacking the diversity of perspective, protection, or practical support that male friends traditionally provided. Group outings, travel companionship, and event attendance lose the dynamic where men often organized logistics, covered portions of costs, or ensured safety. Nights out become more expensive and less spontaneous, with women splitting bills evenly rather than benefiting from male generosity. The emotional support once drawn from male partners or friends now requires professional therapy or deeper reliance on female bonds, which, while valuable, cannot fully replicate the complementary strengths men brought. Career and workplace dynamics reveal additional layers of consequence. Women who anticipated male mentorship, sponsorship, or preferential treatment in professional settings now compete in environments where men focus exclusively on merit and self advancement. Networking events, promotions, and project assignments tilt toward those who build strongest alliances within male networks, leaving women to forge their own paths without the historical boost of chivalry or protective advocacy. Complaints about glass ceilings or bias persist, yet the response from men remains pragmatic. Equality means equal competition without special consideration. This leveling creates opportunities for highly capable women, but disadvantages those who relied on relational capital or affirmative policies to accelerate progress. Health and fitness routines face disruption as well. Mixed gyms, once social hubs where women received attention, compliments, or informal training tips from men, now feel neutral or distant. Men trained focused and headphone clad, avoiding interaction to prevent misinterpretation. Women seeking form checks, spotting, or motivation must rely on female trainers, paid professionals, or online resources rather than casual male assistants. Home workout attempts often lack the equipment depth or knowledge base men accumulated, leading to slower progress or higher costs for personal coaching. Mental health conversations reveal rising anxiety and loneliness rates among women, attributed partly to reduced male emotional investment and the absence of traditional partnership buffers against life's stresses. Parenting presents some of the most profound long term consequences, particularly for single mothers or those considering children outside committed partnerships. State support systems strain under revenue shortfalls as high earning men optimize taxes and reduce hours, limiting funds for welfare, childcare subsidies, or family assistance programs. Raising children alone becomes exponentially harder without male co parenting, financial contribution, or physical presence for discipline and protection. Women report exhaustion from juggling full time work with sole childcare responsibility, facing judgment for outcomes while lacking the partnership that historically shared burdens. Future demographic projections indicate growing numbers of women aging without the family networks or grandchildren that previous generations assumed, confronting elder care and end of life planning in isolation. Consumer industries feel the pinch collectively, affecting women's employment and spending power. Retail, beauty, fashion, and lifestyle sectors, disproportionately staffed by and marketed toward women, experience softening demand as discretionary budgets tighten. Job security wanes in these fields, compounding financial stress. Luxury experiences, spa days, designer purchases, and frequent dining out become rarer treats rather than routine indulgences, reshaping identity and social status signals built around consumption. International perspectives highlight the contrast sharply. Women in regions maintaining traditional values often express bewilderment at Western complaints, noting that their societies still feature strong male engagement because reciprocity and respect remain cultural norms. Western women traveling abroad sometimes encounter the warmth and provision they miss at home, yet returning reinforces the domestic gap. Some consider relocation themselves, but language barriers, career continuity, and family ties complicate such moves. Mental and emotional toll accumulates over time. Social media amplifies voices expressing regret, anger, demands for male return, or denial of responsibility. Therapy practices report increased female clients processing loneliness, resentment toward past cultural messaging, or fear of future solitude. Rates of antidepressant use, alcohol consumption, and comfort spending rise as coping mechanisms for the void left by withdrawn male attention and support. The overarching consequence is a forced reckoning with full independence in a society originally structured around complementary roles. Women championed messages of self sufficiency, strength without need for men, and redefinition of traditional expectations. Now, living the reality of those ideals without the previous male backstop, many discover that true equality includes bearing equal weight of all responsibilities: financial, practical, emotional, protective. The freedom from male authority comes paired with freedom from male assistance, creating a landscape where every challenge must be met individually or through paid services. Future generations of women inherit this transformed world. Young girls grow up observing mothers, aunts, and mentors navigating life solo, absorbing lessons that partnership requires exceptional effort and compromise to attract. Education emphasizes STEM, finance, and self defense alongside traditional subjects, preparing for scenarios without assumed male provision. Cultural narratives shift gradually, with some voices advocating return to mutual respect and appreciation, others doubling down on independence despite costs. Men observe these consequences without triumphalism, but with quiet validation of their choices. Having found peace, prosperity, and purpose in separation, they see little incentive to reverse course absent genuine, sustained change in incentives and cultural respect. The ball rests in collective hands to demonstrate value that matches or exceeds the contentment already achieved elsewhere. This reality, stark as it may be, stems from decades of cumulative choices and messaging. Women now experience the full implications of a world where male investment became optional rather than default. Adaptation varies. Some thrive through extraordinary resilience and achievement, others struggle profoundly. But the era of automatic male prioritization has closed permanently. As society navigates this new equilibrium, the lessons crystallize. Reciprocity builds enduring bonds, respect sustains contribution, and consequences arrive reliably when patterns go unaddressed. Women face these consequences daily, reshaping aspirations, strategies, and expectations for generations ahead. What did you think about everything we covered today? Do you see these shifts playing out in your own life or community? Do you agree that this movement is irreversible, or do you believe something could draw men back into traditional roles? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all and value honest discussion. And like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.